Hello everyone and welcome to the React Full Stack series course. So up till now we covered the importance of the files which are node module, index.html and index.js. These files are more important than the other files which are present here. Don't worry if you don't have any knowledge of these cause we are going to learn it from scratch. That is from the basics. So we are going to write each and every file to make the concept more clear. First of all, we are going to delete all the files since we are going to write it ourselves. So open your project and in the public folder, we are going to delete all the files. Just leave index.html behind. And yeah, that's it. And in the source folder, we are also going to delete everything except index.js. That's it. Now let's get back to the code. Since we are going to learn it from scratch, let's remove this piece of code as well. And let's save the file and compile. And after that, we'll see the output. So it is compiling now. So now we can see bunch of errors which are generated due to the files and lines of code we just removed. So now let's start coding. So we have removed everything. So it is basically like building it from scratch. So let's start learning. So the two important keyword which you should know is components and views. These are basically piece of code which we combine and connect to complete our coding. And an important thing to note is all the code which we are going to write is going to be in JavaScript language. But after it gets compiled, it is rendered in JS and HTML. But at last, all the code which is being used is going to be JavaScript only. So in the React, we are going to create two things, which are classes and functions. And you might already know that functions always return some values. So the React function which we are going to make will return some HTML text, but the text ultimately is going to be JavaScript only, as told earlier. And we call it as JSX, that is JavaScript XML. So the conclusion here is even the HTML tags that we use are compiled in HTML, but at last it is going to turn into JavaScript because at last we create a file named bundle.js for which you can check out our previous video in which I have explained about bundle.js. Since bundle.js is a JavaScript file, and yeah, for that reason, everything is going to be in JavaScript. So let's start. Let's create a component first. Const app equal to function fat arrow curly brackets. So the syntax we used here in fat arrow is the syntax of ES6. If you don't know about ES6, don't worry, just keep watching the video. You will get to know the components and concepts of ES6 by the end of this video. So this is basically a component which will return us some value. So we'll write return and it will return some HTML tag. Let's say hello world. Hello world. Hello world! Exclamation mark. So as I have told you, all of the things we write are going to be in JavaScript and hence we can write the following as the syntax you can see here is a JavaScript syntax and the syntax above is the syntax for React. Both are the same with same functionalities. Let me remove this one for now. Let me just save it and compile it. So if we have a quick look at the error, it states that we have used the name app but have not assigned any value. And for the output, it is blank. So the problem here was we wrote the code for React, but we didn't imported the React library. Or in other words, we didn't told our IDE that the code we are writing is the code meant for React. For that, we will need to import React, and we have a keyword named import for that. So import React, now the source from React, and React should be in single quote, the source. So we have imported React now, but where it is located? If we check the node module about which we talked earlier in our previous video, so if we scroll down a little, we can see React here. So if we save it and compile it, it still shows the error stating that the app is not used, and for the output, it is still blank. And the reason for that is we didn't write any DOM structure for our React code. DOM is basically used to display your page onto the browser. And now to overcome the issue, we will import the React DOM file. So import React DOM. Now the source from React DOM. So now if we save it and compile it, let's see what errors do we get. So now it is saying React DOM not used, app not used. So let's find out the reason behind that. First, let's check the output. It is still blank. Now we need to use React DOM and app in order to show some output onto the screen. For that, we need to write another statement, which will be a render statement. So React DOM dot render. This statement takes an argument inside its function. So our component is app. Let's write that and a semicolon. Let's save again and compile it. So now it's not showing any errors. Now let's check for the output. So now here it is indicating that there is some error on line number 8. So we have written component name as it is, which is not the correct syntax. And if we see, the IntelliSense is also stating that we need to use it as a tag. So now let's use the name app as a tag. So this is how we make tags in HTML. Now let's save and compile. Still not showing any errors, but let's see the output. It is showing some different error. Now let's solve this one. So we use the component here, but we didn't state it on which part and on which body tag we want the hello world to be printed. So if we open our HTML file, we can see an ID named root. Since JavaScript has the convention of passing ID in order to print something, so we are going to have root as ID. The root name is just a convention and you can change it to any name you want to. Now, in order to print hello world, we will be using a query selector in our main code. So let's use a query selector here, comma, document dot query selector hashtag root. So now we have selected the root ID and printed the component. So if we save and compile it, no errors. Let's see the output. And finally it is showing hello world. So finally we have rendered our basic application, which is similar to HTML but later turned out to be JavaScript. So before wrapping up, let's sum up what all are the things we did in this video. So let's revise the things we did in this video. So we created a component and the component was part of the React, and hence we also imported React. And since we wanted to show the component in our browser, and for those reasons we imported the React DOM for the React DOM structure. And then we rendered the DOM structure. We rendered the component in order to provide the source where we wanted it to show. We used the query selector and we mentioned the ID root. Here we mentioned that we want this component instead of the root. So by using all these, we printed hello world. So in the upcoming video, we will take a short class on what is JSX. If you had any issues or queries regarding this video, you can comment it down in the comment section or you can ping me directly on my Instagram. If you found this video little helpful, you can subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any other video from this series or other videos as well. Next video will be on JSX. That's all for this video. Goodbye. And I hope to see you in my next one.